when these come out of the oven, you can see just a little browning around the edges. That's what I'm looking for. I've got all the shapes done, and now we're ready to frost. I'm going to set these aside for a second while we make the frosting, and then I'll go ahead and show you how to pipe them on. Okay, here's the issue with frosting. I have never really had a frosting recipe. I just make frosting. So when I opened the bakery and my employees needed to make frosting, it was kind of an issue because I was the only one that knew how to make it. So I watched myself do it once and I wrote down the recipe, but frosting changes with the weather. So if it's really humid out, you're gonna have to add a little more powdered sugar. It all just depends on the day. So I'm gonna show you a basic recipe, and then I'm gonna show you kind of what it's supposed to look like. You may need to add a little more powdered sugar or a slight bit more milk depending on the day. But I'll start you with the base recipe. So when I was growing up, my mom made frosting and she used margarine. So that is what I use. I have a couple recipes that I make frosting with butter, but for the most part, for these decorated cookies, I use margarine. And I love the taste of it. So this recipe starts with 2 cups of margarine. Again, I've softened it. It's been on the counter for at least an hour. It's nice and soft. You really want to make sure it's nice and soft. You don't want to microwave it, but you want it nice and soft because to make frosting, we got to get all the lumps out. And then we're going to add powdered sugar. So this recipe, we're going to add a lot of powdered sugar, but we're going to start with 7 cups, which is actually just 1 bag. So go ahead and add 1 full bag of powdered sugar into our bowl. Then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of milk. Again, I use skim milk. You can use whatever kind you have in your refrigerator. And 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Those are actually all the ingredients in my frosting. All we're going to do after this is add more powdered sugar, maybe milk if we need it, but that's it. So we're going to get this on the mixer for our first round. We're going to use the whisk for this. We really need to make sure it gets nice and airy. We don't, with the paddle, you kind of beat it down. We're not looking for that. We're looking for some air. So I'm going to get this on and just get it mixed. Now what we're looking for in this first round, it's going to be really wet, but I need every lump out of there. So I've got it on low now because I'm just getting it all mixed, and you know me, things tend to fly. I'm getting it all mixed, and then I'm going to beat the living daylights out of it for a few seconds to really get the lumps out of it. I'm going to scrape down the sides, but because this is so wet, it's fairly easy to get the lumps out. Okay, all the lumps are out. I couldn't possibly use it yet. It's way too wet. I'm going to add in a 2nd full bag of powdered sugar. Managed to get some up there. That's very like me. And I'm going to let that mix. Starting slow so it doesn't fly. And then I'll increase it just to get it all mixed in. Now, today when I made it, I can tell this is not enough powdered sugar. It's nice, but it's not going to hold up on cookies. So today I would probably add another 2 cups of powdered sugar. Okay, even with 2 more cups, today it's still not enough. What I'm looking for is the frosting to be a little rough. If it's too smooth, it's just never going to really set the way I want it to. And for a lot of this frosting, I'm going to be adding food coloring. So I'm going to be adding more moisture. So I want this to be a little rough just slightly dry. So I would add in probably about another cup, and I'll see if that works. Pretend I'm not doing more. Okay, here's what I mean by rough. It's not smooth. When I pull it out of the bowl, there's a little roughness to it. Now it's all completely blended, it's just a little rough, and that's what I want. So once I have the frosting to where I want it to be, I'm gonna pull it off, and I can start making colors. Now, I think I already confessed to you that I have a cookie cutter problem. I also have a sprinkle problem and a food color problem. I can go through a store and pass by any designer outfit and talk myself out of it. I cannot walk by sprinkles in a store. They make me incredibly happy. I think everything in life is better with sprinkles. And downstairs I have probably every color known to man that they sell, and most combinations. So, little education on sprinkles. The little round ones are called nonpareils, and the ones that are little ovals, little skinny ovals, are jimmies. So jimmies are probably my favorite, but there's also lots of variations on them. There's also the sugars, and I have every color of those downstairs too. But what I found over the years is the sugars you use the most are the large clear ones because they make things look festive. And then I found these beautiful holly and ivy sprinkles that are probably my all-time favorite. So we will get to those when we start decorating, because even if you mess up the frosting, when you put sprinkles on it, it just makes it better. So I also, in addition to my sprinkle problem and my cookie cutter problem, have a food color problem. So I cannot tell you the excitement when I bought this recently. This is, I've always used these food colors, and I treated myself to the deluxe kit. This is every food color that I could ever want. Who knew there were 5 reds? Did you know that? It's fantastic. There are 5 oranges to choose from. This makes me incredibly happy. And if that's not enough, they also come in electric colors, which we're not going to use that for Christmas, but that's just awesome. So these are my vices. We all have vices. I think mine are fine. I can talk about them in public. I'm just a little embarrassed. Oh, I also have a Diet Mountain Dew problem, but we don't need to talk that. This makes me incredibly happy. So to make good cookies, you can't use the food colorings you get at the grocery store, those little bottles. They make things pastel. And so for Christmas, we want those vibrant colors. We want the red and the green. So you really need to invest in some real colors. Now, these are the ones I use. You can get them at your Michael's or your Walmart, and they'll work too. The thing is, when you are making bright colors, you have to use a lot of color, and it can change the taste. So you do have to be a little careful about that. So I'm going to make some red frosting. And all we do is I start with a glob of my frosting. Now, in addition to my little bottles, I also have some nice big bottles because, again, it's my problem. My favorite red is red, so I'm going to use that. And you're going to see I have to put a lot of color in there to actually get real red. And that may not even be enough. We'll mix it up and see. But to get it red, we got to add a lot. And I will also tell you, wearing rubber gloves is not a bad thing during this, because if you get this on your hands, it does take days to come off. So I think I got pretty lucky on the first shot there. That's pretty close to the red I want. But as you can see, the frosting got a lot softer because I added a whole bunch of liquid in there. So I think it's still okay for this batch, but if it were to get softer, you would just add a little more powdered sugar and mix it in there at the same time. So once I have that, we do need to put it into a pastry bag. Now, you can use a Ziploc bag, they're just not strong enough, so you kind of have to be careful. I buy commercial pastry bags. You can get them on the internet. I'm sure you can get them at a Michael's. And I have many, many pastry tips. Now, in part, I own the bakery, so I have them, but one could argue I also have a pastry tip problem. But I have a lot of those. But if you don't, all you really need to buy is a big round one, a small round one, and probably don't know, a medium star. And you could do a ton of these cookies just with those. So for this one, I'm gonna add the red into my pastry bag with a big round tip on it. I just fold it over, and you'll see it makes it a lot easier if you fold it over and scoop it in. Try to get it down as far as you can. And then squeeze it down. I'm also going to get a white one ready. Actually, I already have the white one. I did that earlier. So we've got white. I'll save this one for something in just a little bit.